Howdy folks, Haynes here, and welcome back to CAD Foundations, where today we're going to be jumping back into Prusa Slicer and learn a few more tips and tricks that hopefully help you become a more optimal 3D printer. So we still got our phone case here from the last video, and what we're going to be doing is we are going to be modifying this case, but we're going to be doing it not within a proprietary 3D modeling software. We're going to be doing it right here within the Slicer software. So I'm just going to click on my case, then I'm going to right click it. And what I'm going to do, when you right click, it gives you a lot of options. The three we're going to be focusing on today are adding parts, adding negative volumes, and adding modifiers. So I almost never go to add part. When you add a part, it gives you less options. I like to add a modifier because when you add a modifier, you have a lot of options you could do with it. You could place it anywhere you want. It doesn't snap to the build plate. And you could always convert it to a part or a negative volume later. Whereas if you add a part, you're stuck with a part. So I'm going to add the modifier. Let's just add a cylinder here. So it gives us this 20.3 by 20.3 by 18 mil cylinder. And I, for whatever reason, just want to put my cylinder, I just want to put a cylinder on the back of my phone case because I think that's the coolest thing ever. So I am going to get 90 and 90 is my center point. So I'm going to put it right there in the center, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to resize this to my liking. So firstly, I am going to use the move tool and position it where I want it. So I want you right there because I want it to be intersecting with my case. So that way when I change it to a part later, it will merge and be perfectly where I want it. And then I'm going to scale it, and we're going to scale you down. I should have moved it afterwards because that's gonna make me that wise. And yeah, something like that looks fantastic. There we go. Maybe a little bit thicker. And now let's move it back down onto my build surface. Okay, so we're looking good here. So we right there have a modifier in the center of our phone, but if we go over to our print preview, you'll see that didn't do anything. And that's because we haven't told this modifier to do anything yet. And in order to do that, we could either right click on it there or over in our list of parts. And we are going to go down to change type. So when I change the type, it gives me the option to make it a part, which will make it a part of our phone case, a negative volume, which will make it a cutout from our phone case, or a support blocker or a support enforcer, which those are really good because they give, it'll give you with your supports a specific area to either enforce or avoid. And avoidance is pretty cool. If you, like say you're printing out a figurine and you don't want any supports on the face because the face is detailed and that's gonna muck it up. Support blocker is really cool. The software will figure out another way to support the model while avoiding that specific area. But we want it to be a part. So we're gonna select that, and now it is part of our phone. If we move it, it's all the one thing. It's now a part of the case. So let's make sure that's back centered. And when we check, we'll see, hey, now that is a part of our phone case. So I think my phone case looks pretty cool now. It's pretty cool, but it's not perfect. And to make it perfect, I need text. So I need to add text on there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And once again, I'm going to add it as a modifier. And this time I'm just going to go down to text. And I'm going to change the text to 1 because I want everyone to know I'm number 1. And I'm just going to move that over. Whoop. Control Z. No, just you. Just you. So I'm not going to move it manually because that got wonky for some reason. But I want to get this nice and perfectly centered at my 9090 model. It is currently not in the right position to do anything, so I am going to use my little blue arrow here to move it up. Let's make you 4 tall. And I just want to make sure it's looking to my liking. And it's not poking through the bottom. Okay. And then once again, I'm going to right click on that. I'm going to change the type and I'm going to make that a part. Okay, so now if I go over, hey, I got a number 1 on top of my phone case, so everybody knows I'm number 1. But actually now I've decided that that doesn't look great to me. So whoops, Control Z. So instead what I'm going to do is I am going to change the type of that once again, and I am going to make it a negative volume. And now I'm going to change my height, and I'm going to change the size independently. So my scaling here is unlocked, so it'll only scale the direction I tell it to go. If it is locked, it'll be gray when it's locked. It'll be orange when it's unlocked. If it's locked, everything will scale evenly. So I just want my height to be different. So I'm just going to make it 10. It really doesn't matter if it protrudes through or anything like that. I just want to make sure there's more than enough, because that's essentially creating a cutout for me. So now if I go over, you'll see that the 1 is cut out. I now have a number 1 cutout. And this is all good and well, but let's say I didn't want to use standard assets. So let's delete our text. Let's delete our generic cylinder. And let's say I wanted to use my own thing. So I can do that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add, once again, a modifier, but I'm going to click on load. And I'm going to load in my little logo on my face and beard here. It's going to be gigantic, so I'm going to scale it down. Maybe something like that. I'll rotate that so it's facing the right direction. Can't have my face facing the wrong direction. And we'll move him up. And this is my own file, my own STL that I created. Height of 4. Height of 3. Okay, so it's intersecting. It looks good there. Again, it's just a modifier, so it's not a part of it yet, but I'm going to change my type, and I am going to make it a part. It's automatically going to merge. And hey presto, we now have my face on there. And similarly, I could change the type, and I could make this a negative volume. However, I should get a warning, and I do, that, okay, it's not poking all the way through. It's only poking a little bit through. Way to not show my point. Let's change this to 10 for our height. Okay, so you can see that this is actually an impossible print now, because my little face logo here leaves parts here in the middle that would be printing out in the middle of nowhere, so that can't actually happen. So if I wanted a negative volume, I would need to make sure I'm using something that could have a negative volume, like our Spider-Man logo here. That could have a negative through and through volume. We'll scale that guy. Whop. And we're just going to change him straight away to a, oops, sorry, we're just going to, if I could click on it, there we go. We are, wait, did I add that as a part? Maybe I did. Whoops. All right, once again, right click, add negative volume. We're going to load. We're going to put in our Spidey logo. Put her there. Scale her down. Rotate it. Close to 180 as we can get. Doesn't matter if I'm too precise. We'll change her over to a negative volume. Oh, it already was a negative volume. Whoops, my bad. 15. We'll move it to the build plate. Should be poking through. And now we have our Spidey logo nice and sticking through there. So that looks pretty good. Now, one thing that's neat in Onshape, which I'm just going to delete all this stuff for now, or one thing neat in Prusa Slicer is you can actually import a full assembly. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to import a full assembled staff here, and it's not going to fit on that printer regardless. So I'm going to change to my Creality because that's the only one that could actually print this successfully. But you can see that our staff is way too tall, but I already have it actually broken down into parts, just not within the software. But if you do want to input an assembly, you can actually split that up by right clicking and then going here to split. And you don't want to split it to parts. Well, I'll do that for now. Because when you split it up into parts, it's still parts, but they're no longer, it no longer wants you moving them. It keeps them there. So we're going to Control Z that. Come on. Oh, there we go. All right, so I'm going to split. And this time I'm going to go to objects. And when I split it to objects, you notice that it now fits in my build volume and all my parts are on the build plate. Some of them are hidden, but they are all there. You don't have to take my word for it. I'll show you. So now it's all broken up. Obviously, I'd want to support this and everything, so it would be printable. But that is a good way to be able to put an assembly down there. And then the last thing we're going to show is if we have, let's just add another shape. Let's make a big old box. So if you had a gigantic box that were, how much is that? 11 inches wide. This would definitely, at the corners here, start peeling off the build plate, which is not ideal. But what you can do to help with that is a brim will help a little bit, but what'll really help is if we add shapes and we go into the gallery. So it gives us a few shapes here in the gallery, these helper discs. So if I grab a helper disc, darn thing's in the way. But if I grab a helper disc and I went ahead and put one of these on every corner, now those cooling forces are going to be applied to my helper discs here. If I was printing something this huge, I would want a larger helper disc, maybe something like that. And then you can copy and paste 3 of these and, move them to all the corners. Whoops. But yeah, you just want to plonk one of these on every corner, and then you would be good to go there. Made one too many copies. So yeah, that's support discs, and let's do Control A, kind of move them all on. And if we look at our, taking a while to do that. So we got a brim all the way around, which is going to help with the peeling, and the support discs are really going to help with peeling and warping. Otherwise, guaranteed, especially on a printer this size, the corners would be peeled up and it would be warped at the bottom. But that's going to do it for today's video. Go ahead and leave any questions, comments, or snide remarks down in the comments section below. But like always, I hope you have a great day.